My name is Mr. Jackson and I'm really excited to teach you this reading lesson on exploring text features of fiction and non-fiction texts. We're going to use this exciting book and I can't wait. So, if you are ready, let's get started. Our learning objective for today is to compare and contrast text features of fiction and non-fiction texts. To know that you are successful in this lesson, you will have to answer yes to these I can statements. Number one, I can use the text features to quickly decide if a text is fiction or non-fiction before reading a book. I can use the text features of a non-fiction book to help me better understand the topics in the book. Number three, I can tell which features belong to non-fiction texts. For this lesson, you will need an exercise book or paper, a pencil, or a pen. You need your reading eyes, thinking brain, and this time you will need your listening ears as always. So make sure that they're ready. They're switched on and you're ready to go. So you should have everything in front of you ready for today's lesson. Let's get going. So this is the book on screen that we're going to be using for this lesson. Now, what type of text do you think we're going to be reading? I'd like you to have a look at the front cover of the book. Now, what do you think it's going to be about? Possibly. So what kind of text do you think this is? All right, I want you to have some thinking time. Just by looking at the front cover, what do you think we're going to be reading about? Could be. I also want you to think about what type of text you think it's going to be. Now, don't worry if you're not sure yet. That's absolutely fine. I just wondered if you have a first reaction to the text, to the way that the book looks. Now, think about it. What is the title of the book? That's right. The title of the book is More Valuable Than Gold. Now, what images are you seeing or what picture are you seeing there? Yes, we see some trees and we see what appears to be a river, but we're not quite sure yet. So I want you to hold your answers for a bit. There are a few more pages that I want to show you, so you might be able to make up your mind if you're still not sure. So the first thing we have here is the table of contents. Now, boys and girls, I'm sure you'd have met the table of contents in your language arts lessons at school. Can you remind me, what is the purpose of the table of contents? So we have got a table of contents. We've also got an index page. And there's also a glossary. So by now you should really know from looking at the front that there's a contents page, an index page, and a glossary page. Now tell me, what do you think? Is it a fiction text or a non-fiction text? Are you one of those children that's forgotten what fiction and non-fiction is? I hope not. I always find this really hard. But which one is which? Remember, fiction is made up and uses lots of imagination, and non-fiction has facts and you can't make it up. So fictions are the stories and where we make up things and use our imagination. And non-fictions are those that are facts. Now, I want you to point to the screen and tell me which do you think it is. Is it fiction or non-fiction? Point to the screen in 3, 2, 1. That's right. But I want you to answer like this. I think this is dash text because dash. So let's try. I think this is dash text because dash. So which do you think it is? So boys and girls, we've said that it is a non-fiction text, but you have to answer using the frame. I think this is dash text because dash. So that means that you have to give your answer and state your reason. So let's try. I think this is non-fiction because dash. So I think this is a non-fiction text because it has a table of contents, an index, and a glossary. So we just figured out what some of the features of a non-fiction text are. Good job. All right, boys and girls, we're not finished yet. We have to continue to learn some other features of non-fiction and fiction texts. So let's go. So we just learned to figure out when a book is a non-fiction text. This book has a lot of facts, so we're not going to be reading a story, but we're going to be reading a non-fiction text. So, book about lots of facts. Let's think about the features of a non-fiction text. It's really important that we know what they do. So, the contents page. What is a contents page? What does the word contents mean? It means everything inside. You know, when you say the contents page or the contents inside of a bag, we mean what's inside. So everything that is inside. So then, what do you think the contents page is? I want you to have some thinking time and think about it. Let's put our thinking caps on. Contents page. Contents. If contents mean everything inside, then what is the contents page? Aha! The contents page is that page that tells us everything that is inside the book. That's right. That is the contents page. Now, how do we use the contents page? Let's find out. So, of course, it's a page that's in the front of the book that tells you where specific information can be found. So, for example, if I wanted to find out more information on gold mining in the Amazon, where would I look? In the contents page, of course. So I would look down the contents page and I might use my finger. Get your finger ready. Let me see your finger. And I would run my finger down the contents page to find the topic as well as the page number where I can find information about gold mining in the Amazon. On which page can we find information on gold mining in the Amazon? That's right, we can find it on page 10. Good job, boys and girls. I could not have done it without you. Now let's continue to look at the other features of the non-fiction text. So we're moving on to the next page, which is the index page. Now, let us have a look at the index page on our screen. Now, what do you notice about the index page on the screen? Did you notice that on one side I have all my words listed? And on the other side, what do you see? That's right, on the other side we have the page numbers on which I can find these words or information relating to these words or concepts. Now, boys and girls, let us take a closer look on the index page. What do you notice about how the words are arranged on the page? That's right, they are arranged in alphabetical order. But you could have easily found that out. If you looked closely, you would have seen the letters A, B, C, D, M, and O. It might not follow the alphabet in its entirety, but the letters are placed there so that the words are placed under each letter in alphabetical order. Now, these are the words that will appear in the contents or in the chapters, rather, of my book. So if I wanted to use the index page, how would I go about using it? That's right. I would have to use my pointing finger and go down the index page to find the information or the word that I want, and the page on which I can find information that relates to the word or concept. So let's practice. I want you to get your index finger ready. And we're going to use our index finger and we're going to go down the page and we're looking for information or the page number on which we can find information that relate to mining. So let's go. We're going down the index page and we're looking under the letter M because the word mining starts with M. Remember, the index page is arranged in alphabetical order. So let's go again. Aha! Have you found the word mining? Good job. Now, can you tell me on which page or pages will I be able to find information that relate to mining? Let's look closely. That's right. We would find information on pages 5 and 15. You did a very good job helping me to find the pages on which I can find information on mining in the index page. Remember, the index page is found at the back of the book, unlike the table of contents, which is found at the front of the book. So let's continue. We're now going to move to the next page, which is the glossary. But before we look at the glossary or an example of the glossary, I want you to think carefully. I'm sure you've heard the word glossary before, or you may have seen a glossary in a book before. So what is the purpose of the glossary page or pages? Let's think for a while. Glossary. What is the purpose of the glossary? Aha! Now the glossary is a list of words. It gives us a list of words. But is that all that it does? No, that is not all. There is more to the glossary page other than giving us a list of words. What else does the glossary page do? It gives us a list of words as well as the meaning or definition of these words. And in most cases, it also gives us the page number on which we can find these words or information that relates to these words. Now let us look on screen at an example of a glossary that we have. Here we have our glossary. Now this glossary has several words listed. It's like a dictionary, isn't it? Yes. Now, what do you notice about the glossary? On one side, we have the list of... That's right, we have a list of words. But before we even move to the other side, I want you to look even closer at our glossary page. Do you notice that we have some special letters in brackets on our glossary page? What do you think these letters represent? That is right. It is telling us the parts of speech of each of these words. Good job, boys and girls. You did a good job figuring that out. Now let us go over to the other side of the glossary page. What do we see there? Wonderful. we see the definition of each of these words. But we also notice that we see the page number on which we can find these words and any information that relate to these words. So I want to find the definition of deforestation. Without rushing to find my dictionary or looking for the definition online, I can turn to the glossary page. Very good. What about mining? Based on the glossary page, can you give me a definition for the word mining? Wonderful. Let us read the definition together. According to our glossary, mining is taking minerals from the ground by digging or blasting. Let us see if we can find the definition of another word. That word is ore. Now, what part of speech is the word ore? Did you say noun? Very good. Now, did our glossary help us to find out that part of speech? Yes, it did. But how did it help you to find that part of speech? Wonderful. We see the special letter N in the bracket beside the word or, which tells us that this word is a noun. But we also want to find the definition of the word or. So let us read together. What does ore mean? An ore is a rock that has useful minerals or metals inside it. Good job, boys and girls. I could not have used my glossary page without your help. So we've got glossary, content page, and index page, and we just had a look at all three. I wonder if you can now recall something you've learned about all three. I'm going to give you some clues, and you will tell me which it is. A glossary, content page, or index. Just try and think to see if you can remember which one is which. Are you ready? Let's go. A page that defines keywords from the text. Did I hear you say glossary? You are correct. A glossary is a page that defines any word from the text and it is found in the back of the book. A page that is in the front of the book that tells you where specific information can be found. I heard you. You are doing great remembering. And that is, of course, a content page. And the content page is at the front of the book where you can find specific information. Now, what then is the index page? Shh, I'm listening. Aha! I've heard someone say an index page is a page that is at the back of the book. It lists words and where it can be found in the book. That is right. You are super correct. So glossary, content page, and index, they're all kind of similar. All three of them are text features that writers of non-fiction use to help us to better understand the subject that they're writing about. It's quite tricky to remember exactly which is which, but it's very important to know how to use them to help you to read better. Well done if you gave it a try. So, how do we quickly decide if the book is non-fiction? We can flip through the book and see these types of pages that are found. So I can see the content page, the index page, and the glossary. If we are still not sure, we can have a look inside. So we're going to spot the features inside this book. In this book, you can see that we have a header, but our header is in the form of a question. We also have a graph. But if we look even closer, we see that there are other features. What are these other features? We see that there are pictures or photographs, and we also see that there is a caption. So then, boys and girls, what type of book is this? Is this fiction or non-fiction? Did I hear you say non-fiction? Good job. Clearly you have been paying attention. Well done, boys and girls. Now let us look at these two book covers. The first one says, Little Kenny at the Farm, written by Mrs. Opal Utah Wilson. While the second one is History of Jamaican Farms by Lashanae James. Which of these books is a non-fiction book? What type of book do you think book A or the first book is, and why? Now you should answer by saying, I think book A is dash text because. So in other words, you are telling me what you think it is, and of course, you are giving me your reason. So let's go. What type of book do you think book A or the first book is? I think it is dash book because. Let me hear you. Aha. I hear you say that book A is a fiction book. Okay. But what are your reasons? Let me hear them again. Beautiful. The first thing we notice is the title. And the title sounds a bit made up, don't you think? Little Kenny at the Farm. Yes, man, it sounds a bit made up. But if you even look at the cover of the book, what about the picture? What about the drawing? What do you notice? Yes. Does Kenny look like a real boy to you? No. It looks like a drawing, doesn't he? What about the animals? Do the animals look real? Not at all. So we know then that the first book is a fiction book. In other words, the author made up the story. Chances are the writer is using her imagination and made up this story. Now let us look at book B, The History of Jamaican Farms by Lashanae James. Now remember, you're answering using the frame. I think this book is dash because. Now let me hear your answer. I think this book is wonderful. I think this book is a non-fiction text. But why do you think it is non-fiction? Let me hear your reasons again. Beautiful. By the title, The History of Jamaican Farms, we know that the author is going to give us facts, information that can be proven about Jamaican farms. But if we also look at the picture, we see that this person is real. Do you see the farmer? That's right. So we see that this is a real farmer on his farm. And if you look even closer at the picture, we see that he has several equipment in the back. And we see the animals behind him. Beautiful. So we can tell which book is a fiction book and which book is a non-fiction book by examining the pictures and the title. Remember, there are other features of a non-fiction book. Do you remember the features that we learned? Remind me of them again. Beautiful. We have the contents page, we have the index page, and we also have the glossary. Well done. Well, boys and girls, that's about all the time that we have for a language arts lesson. But before we go, there is a page from one of my non-fiction books that I'd like to share with you. Let's read our page together. But before we do that, let's check out the bold words that are on the page. What are the bold words that you are seeing? Let me hear them. We have mining. Very good. What else? Deforestation. Lovely. And what else do we have? Rainforest. Wonderful. Now, all these words, where would you most likely to find these words? in a fiction text or a non-fiction text? Aha, we're not quite sure yet, so let us begin reading to find out. So we've identified our bold words. So we have to find the meaning of these words before we even read the text, because the fact that they are bolded tells us that they are important words. Now, can you remind me where in the book I can find the meaning of these words? That's right, we can find them in the glossary. Wonderful. Now let's read our page together. Mining, threat to the rainforest. The deforestation of the Amazon rainforest may add to global climate change as well. Rainforest plants remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by photosynthesis, the process by which they make their own food. With fewer plants, more carbon dioxide stays in the atmosphere. Large amounts of carbon dioxide trap heat in Earth's atmosphere and contribute to global warming. That was wonderful reading, boys and girls. Well, let's check to see what we have learned today. Can you honestly say yes to these I can statements? I can use the text features to quickly decide if a text is fiction or non-fiction before reading a book. I can use the text features of a non-fiction book to help me better understand the topics in the book. I can tell which features belong to non-fiction texts. Wonderful. I'm sure you can say yes to all these statements, but if you can't, let's just say not yet. Well, that's all the time that we have for this week's language arts lesson. Join me next time for another fun and exciting language arts lesson. See you soon.